What's up, YouTube? So I want to come through and discuss the black community's colorism hierarchy. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be really interesting, and I think it's going to be a little on the longer side. I don't know how long though, but I'm sure you see the timestamp. But before I begin, I do want to give a disclaimer, which is I don't give a fuck. Alright, that's my disclaimer. I don't give a fuck. Lego. Alright. So, alright, this black community colorism hierarchy. I'm going to start with the top first, the very top, and work my way down. Alright. So, first on the list, of course, is brown skin, dark skin, black men. They are at the top of the colorism hierarchy. After all, they made the hierarchy, and as well, I think they have, they're in the best position to kind of like dictate the tone, direction, and the dynamics of the community. Within this rank, right? I personally believe that brown-skinned men outrank dark-skinned men. This is debatable, but I think brown-skinned men outrank dark-skinned men because they have the positionality to assert their superiority over dark-skinned men. For example, dark-skin jokes, right? Because look, in the pro-black sector of YouTube, right, we have one pro-black person using a puppet and naming the puppet Crispy and using this puppet as a representation of another black male. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? That's an example of that right now, right? Also, disparaging comments about dark-skinned people, right? So I think overall, I think brown-skinned men outrank dark-skinned men. But it's debatable. But overall, they're on the same team, though. Due to self-esteem, self-hate, and self-worth issues, they do not uplift their own direct female counterparts. So they don't uplift that brown-skinned, dark-skinned woman. Honestly, I think that would make more sense. That would make more sense. And that would be honestly in their best interest to do that. But unfortunately, they do not see the value in their dark-skinned, brown-skinned female counterpart like they see the value in the light-skinned mixed biracial female, right? Because they are colorists. They have colorism issues. And they also have issues within themselves, and that brown-skinned, dark-skinned woman is a reflection of themselves, and they don't like themselves, Again, I'm talking about colorist people here. A hit dog will holler. And if you hollering, then you just a dog in the crowd that got hit. What can I say? So all of this leaves them vulnerable to being undermined by other groups of people. Notice that. It kind of leaves them open to being undermined and, leaves them compromised, right? And as well, I will even put this out here. I've said this before in a previous video, by the way, but what kind of a weak-ass nigga uplifts another man's woman over his own? Can someone please answer that question for me? What kind of a weak-ass nigga uplifts another woman over his own woman? And I know there's going to be a whole lot of excuses, 1,000,001 excuses, pretty much just denying that they even uplift them at all. As you know, they tend to be covert about this type of stuff. But it's like we see you. Like, my nigga, we see you. You you ain't slick. You ain't hiding nothing. We see you. We like so just you know like, just stop it. Just calm down. You know, and be real. All right. So next on this hierarchy, this would be position 2. This is the light-skinned mixed biracial woman. The biracial women here. The closer the woman or the women are to white, the higher her rank is. The more Afrocoid her features are, the lower her rank is, right? And of course, like females with one non-black parent and a black parent tend to have a higher rank than females with two black parents. So like the directly mixed girls kind of tend to outrank the indirectly mixed girls or the multi-generational mixed girls. But overall, they tend to be in the same rank though. All right. So they assist in maintaining the hierarchy, as does every group in its own way. Okay. And they assist by throwing their direct male counterpart, the light-skinned mixed biracial men, under the bus in favor of brown-skinned and dark-skinned men, and even to appeal to brown-skinned and dark-skinned women. It makes them seem and look pro-black, because, they're, like, oh, they love this brown-skinned, dark-skinned man so much, right? Oh, they want to be dark-skinned like the dark-skinned, brown-skinned sisters, right? They don't want to have anything to do with the light-skinned dude, the direct male counterpart, right? And like I said in the previous video, what kind of a low self-esteem, home-wrecking whore, home-wrecking asshole is lusting after another woman's man? Anyway, can you answer me that question, people? What kind of a home-wrecking whore is lusting after another woman's man? All right. Next, she often has either a superiority complex, an inferiority complex, or a combination of the two. It's a bit weird there, but she uses dark-skinned people and brown-skinned people to satisfy all of them, all of those complexes she has. Notice that, right? Either way it goes, she will use dark-skinned people to either satisfy her inferiority complex, or to assert superiority over both of them, right? And as well, dark-skinned and brown-skinned people are more vulnerable to light-skinned mixed and biracial women's, light-skinned tears spell that they cast on people. On the other hand, light-skinned mixed and biracial men are not so vulnerable to that, right? We are able to resist that. By and large, there are some who, fall for the okie doke, but by and large, we're able to resist that, light-skinned tears spell bullshit. All right. She knows she can't run that game on light-skinned mixed and biracial dudes, so therefore he is of no use to her. Thus, she has thrown him under the bus, right? Like, nah, nigga. Oh, I see you, nigga. I gotta get rid of you. You gonna fuck up my shit. You gonna fuck up everything. Let me get you the fuck out of here right now. All right. By and large, the mixed biracial light-skinned women cannot compete in the white community because white men will never, ever, never, ever, ever place them above white women. And they know that. So they come to the black community for their upliftment. Notice they always come to black spaces, black female spaces especially, right? On the other hand, light-skinned mixed and biracial men have a better chance of competing in the white community because it's about what you do, not what you look like. In the black community, when it comes to the men, it's just a rigged beauty contest. That's it. The masculinity and manhood and all that stuff boils down to just who has the darker skin tone. That's it. No actions behind them, no deeds, no, research about, oh, is he a good father, a good provider, you know. No, it's just, hey, who activates the Mandingo fantasies faster? That's it. You know. And I'm side-eyeing the women with this. I'm like, that's all. That's all you looking for, But who am I to judge? All right. If it works for you, I'm happy for you. So next on this hierarchy, honorable mention here: the in-between / peanut butter folks, both the men and the women. All right. They feel ignored when it comes to colorism discussions. I personally feel like many of them end up choosing a side to identify with, either light skin or dark skin. It'll depend on their personal experience, But, I just want to give a shout out to the peanut butter folks, because some of them be all like, what about us? We get ignored. And I'm like, well, in this particular situation, I'm not sure if you want to be acknowledged. I could be wrong. Next on this list is light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men. This particular group on the list, I have a lot to say about this group. One, because for obvious reasons, I am light-skinned, but also because this group is probably the most complex group on this hierarchy. And let me explain. All right, let me just go through this. All right. The closer that the light-skinned biracial mixed man is to white, the lower his status is within his rank. All right. The more Afrocoid the facial features, the better the rank within his group. Right. Light-skinned mixed and biracial men are the wild cards of the black community. Right. They are the X factor. They are the dark horses of the black community. The irony, right? But yeah, I'll start out with this question and I'll go into my spiel about this, okay? I'll start out with this one simple little question. Who do light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men date and marry? Someone asked this question in the comment section. And honestly, I didn't know how to answer it. As a collective, I don't know who the hell light-skinned, mixed, and biracial dudes marry. And date and marry. Honestly, within my personal life, the ones that I know, they're all over the place. Like in high school, like this one light-skinned dude was dating this Asian chick who was our valedictorian, and he was like the baseball player. And then this other light-skinned dude was dating this other Asian chick, right? And then this other light-skinned dude was dating this mixed, black and Asian chick, right? And then the other dude who was dating the light-skinned or the Asian chick wound up moving on to a dark-skinned woman, a dark-skinned girl, right? And then another light-skinned dude was dating a brown-skinned girl. And then I have, another classmate, like he's light-skinned and he's married to a dark-skinned woman, all right? Another light-skinned dude, he has a baby, I don't know if they married or not, I'm not sure, with a brown-skinned, dark-skinned girl, all right? And then the other light-skinned dude, he kind of has like a safe brown skin, wife, And that's just the dudes from high school, right? And then my buddy from college, he's light-skinned and he's married to a light-skinned chick, all right? Then, like, within my family, let's see, my dad, brown skin, dark skin, like brown skin woman was my mom, then a dark skin woman, and then my uncle, pretty much like brown skin and dark skinned women, you know. Then another uncle who is with like a safe brown skinned woman. And then my other uncle went totally white, you know, and, you know, had a, married and had a child with her, right? And then um, my father's cousin is light skinned and he married a brown skinned woman, right? And they wound up having 3 brown skinned sons. The sons took on the skin tone of the mom. You know? Then I have a cousin who's married to an Asian woman and he lives in Japan. Then I have another cousin who's married to a dark skinned woman. Okay, and he also has a dark skinned baby mama as well. Then in my extended family, you know, when I go to like family reunions, then it's like one who's married, like 2 with like white women, and then one's with like a Latina. You see, like it's just all over the place. Like that's the thing, the X factor, that wild card factor, right? It's like, where the hell do you, like, it's hard to like pin, it's like hard to like create like a profile on them as a collective because they're so damn all over the place. So let me get into the spiel, right? That was a prelude to the spiel I'm about to go into here, all right? The positionality is the, let's see, their positionality, brown, light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men, their positionality is the most dynamic of all groups in this hierarchy here, okay? They can occupy, they have the positionality and the privilege to occupy any position within this hierarchy, although their primary position is third, you know. In fact, they can even occupy no position at all in some cases. You know, because they have male privilege and light skin privilege, they can resist and push back against the hierarchy. And they can even undermine the hierarchy and even challenge the system of white supremacy better than any other group within this hierarchy, by the way. Also, y'all may not know this, but the white man, you know, the white man has psychological profiles on all groups in the black community. Okay, he knows about that the brown skinned, dark skinned men, the brown skinned, dark skinned women, the light skinned mixed biracial men, and the mixed light skinned biracial women. He knows about, as far as having psychological profiles on each of those groups, he knows because we've been under their foot and still are under their foot, but we've been under their foot for centuries. So they know us. It may not seem like it, but they know. They know. All right. So having that all in mind, who do you think that he sees as the bigger threat to him in his position? Dark skin, brown skin, black men, or light skin mixed biracial men? And, you know, the women are automatically out of the ranking because they're women. So it just comes down to the men. Which one do you think he sees as the bigger threat? Some people will say, well, you know, brown skin, dark skin men are seen as the bigger threat. You know, and on the surface, that does seem like it's true. But the thing is, he knows how to subdue that brown skin, dark skin man, though. He knows that. Because he knows that psychological profile he has. He knows how to deal with him. But the thing is, mixed light skin biracial men's psychological profile, I think that it's hard to pinpoint, right? I think that is probably the biggest hiccup for him. You know, like it throws a wrench into the whole system for him because, like I said, that X factor, that wild card factor, right? The dark horse factor, right? Notice that. And he knows that, you know, he wants that Browns, that the white man subdues the brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, those brown-skinned, dark-skinned men will subdue the women of all shades in the community, and he'll try to subdue the light-skinned mixed biracial men. He can trip him up, but he can't quite subdue him. Notice that. White men and brown-skinned, dark-skinned men cannot subdue light-skinned mixed and biracial men. They can trip them up. They can, right? They can sort of, shake things up a little bit, but they can't quite subdue them like they can do with the women of all shades, right? And also, the white man, like the brown-skinned, dark-skinned white, the brown-skinned, dark-skinned man can deal with the white man. He can deal with him. He can, promote some propaganda towards him. But when it comes to the light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men, that's a little more difficult. I mean, there is propaganda against the biracial, mixed, light-skinned dudes, but they can kind of maneuver that a bit better. It's like I know this is all kind of confusing, and this is a lot of information. My bad, but hang in there, okay? Hang in there. But what I'm saying is, white men know how to deal with brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, and brown-skinned, dark-skinned men know how to deal with white men. But both of those groups don't quite know how to deal with the light-skinned, mixed, biracial men. They can trip them up, but they don't know how to subdue them. That's the X factor. That's the wild card X factor thing there. And they can't because of this weird, kind of like not quite here, not quite there situation where that light-skinned mixed biracial man can sort of use his light-skinned privilege and male privilege to sort of maneuver through the system of white supremacy with ease, or more ease than any other black group. Any other group within the hierarchy, right? As well, he can even maneuver through the hierarchy, right? Like he can be first position and come out of nowhere, like say Barack Obama, he wound up becoming the first black president, even though he's mixed, right? So he jumped in front of the brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, okay? And he got the top spot, right? And also, while doing that, he undermined white supremacy. So he undermined the hierarchy of colorism and the system of white supremacy, right? Heck, Colin Kaepernick even, he jumped in front of the line to become the face of black activism, and he's biracial, and he undermined white supremacy too, right? Heck, even in sports, Muhammad Ali or Steph Curry, So you can kind of see how this, despite, I would say those are examples of light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men being in top rank. Being in bottom rank, an example would be desirability, okay? I think light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men are the least desired in the community on average, And the thing is, when it comes to us, the colorism that we receive tends to be quite overt, more so than covert. The colorism that the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women receive is more overt, but it can be, well, it's more covert, but it can be overt at times too. But I think people are willing to pay the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women lip service. When it comes to the light-skinned, mixed, and biracial dudes, there is no lip service. No one is saying, oh yeah, I like all shades, woo woo woo. No, they'd be like, nah, I like brown-skinned, dark-skinned men, right? And then the dudes, they'd be like, y'all's feminine, right? Pushing that narrative, and then the females want to follow along with that too, right? So this, desirability rank is probably fourth, right, in last place, right? While them having examples of them being able to jump that rank too, right? You know, and then there's examples of them just leaving and going outside in the community to, do whatever, right? Thus removing themselves from the ranking altogether, right? You know, honestly, if you want to know if a person is truly colorist, see how they refer to light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men. Just observe. That'll show you if they're colorist, whether they are a, brown-skinned, dark-skinned man, a brown-skinned, dark-skinned female, or a light-skinned, mixed, or biracial female. See how they refer to the light-skinned, mixed, and biracial man. That'll show if they're truly colorist or not. When it comes to the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women, they pay lip service, so it's a bit more difficult to clock that. And also, before I move on, I will say, taking all of this information into consideration, having all this information in mind, I honestly believe that if there is a, quote-unquote colorism messiah, I think the colorism messiah will most likely be a light-skinned, mixed, or biracial man, considering that they're in the best position to undermine and challenge the hierarchy, But at this point now, I'm just wondering, like, where the hell is this dude at? Shit. Like, who is this dude? Like, shit. But, yeah. So, that was a bit much, I know. So let's move on to the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women, okay? They rank last on the hierarchy, primarily. Within the rank, brown-skinned women outrank dark-skinned women, and some of them low-key take pleasure in it. Of course, there are individual exceptions, but low-key, I think the dark-skinned women, I think, can kind of pick up on that. As a collective, they could overthrow the colorism hierarchy, but they will not. Okay? They won't. I'm saying it right here. The collective of brown-skinned and dark-skinned women will not challenge and overthrow the colorism hierarchy. You're like, why? Why is that? Let me break it down for you. Some are too interested in gaining and maintaining dark-skinned and brown-skinned black men's approval. All right? They're invested in the system. Kind of like how we as black people are invested in white supremacy, thus we tend to not challenge it as much, right? Same with the brown-skinned, dark-skinned women as well. They're interested in light-skinned black women's and biracial and mixed women's approval as well, as quiet as it's kept, right? This group has the toughest time fighting back against colorism because the community, led by dark-skinned, brown-skinned black men, consistently undermines brown-skinned, dark-skinned black women. And as well, the brown-skinned and dark-skinned black women do not have the positionality, they do not have the male privilege, and they do not have the light-skin privilege. So it's very tough for them to maneuver through the hierarchy of colorism and also the system of white supremacy, right? While brown-skinned, dark-skinned men can maneuver through the colorism hierarchy, but they have trouble maneuvering through the system of white supremacy. And when it comes to the light-skinned mixed biracial women, they can sort of maneuver through the colorism hierarchy, and they can sort of, they can have some maneuverability through white supremacy. Not as much as the light-skinned biracial mixed man, though, because she lacks male privilege, right? And also, there will be some mixed or some white men who will be like, I like you, but, I can't take you home to meet my family, though. That shit has happened. I've heard about it. But when it comes to that light-skinned mixed biracial man, And him in like the dating market, he could probably get himself a decent white woman if he chooses to, right? Especially when he's kind of like a mixture of both white men and black men, right? So it can kind of satisfy perhaps that white woman's, curiosity, you know, about black men and blackness, but at the same time still sort of maintain some whiteness too. So when it comes to, taking him home to meet her family, she knows she can kind of have something to negotiate with. They're not, hey, he's kind of like part white, he has a white mom, or some stuff like that, And I think the white women are probably more open to the brown skin, or to the mixed biracial light skinned dudes, than the white men are open to the mixed biracial females. And since in the white community, the men uplift the women and not vice versa, though the light-skinned mixed biracial men don't have much to worry about there, right? Since it's not like a beauty contest, like a rigged beauty contest like it is in the black community, After all, brown-skinned and dark-skinned men are the true chocolate goddesses of the black community, all right? And you never, ever upset or challenge a chocolate goddess. But yeah, I think I've said all I have to say, though. This video was a bit long. Yeesh, it's a bit long here. My bad, y'all. But thanks for watching. I know that this is kind of tough to follow along, I know, because it's a bit much. But thanks for hanging in there, y'all. So let me know what you think in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.